Welcome to this session, My Name, My Identity, a toolkit to promote belonging and inclusion. We appreciate you for investing your time on this important topic. My name is Yi Wan, Project Director of the My Name, My Identity initiative and Director of School Climate, Leadership, and Instructional Services at the Santa Clara County Office of Education. And I'm going to have my colleagues to introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ma Bernadette Salgarino. I am a mathematics coordinator for ICE team of the Santa Clara County Office of Education through the Professional Learning and Instructional Support Division. And I'm just so happy to co-present with Dr. Yiwan and Jenna Pakada today. We are co-authors and co-developers of the toolkit, and we're excited to share our journey in creating the toolkit. I'll hand it over to Jenna.
Hi, I'm Jenna Pakada, and I'm an educational technology coordinator with the ICE team in the Professional Learning and Instructional Support Division. And I'm excited to be a part of this My Name, My Identity team and sharing my experience and my journey along with all of you.
The plan for this session includes sharing the objectives and the why of the My Name, My Identity initiative, providing an introduction to the Educator Toolkit, and highlighting activities in each section of the toolkit. California is home to over 1 million multilingual learners, representing over 70 languages spoken in transitional kindergarten to 12th grade. This diversity is one of California's most substantial assets in the school community, where students bring rich languages, cultures, and traditions. With this diversity comes the responsibility to ensure that each student feels respected and included. Learning about each other's names is one of the crucial steps for everyone to develop a sense of belonging. The Santa Clara County Office of Education launched the My Name, My Identity initiative in partnership with the National Association for Bilingual Education in 2016. The objectives of this initiative are to bring awareness to the importance of respecting one's names and identities and to build a respectful and inclusive culture in school communities. These are strong building blocks for universal Tier 1 support in schools and classrooms. The My Name, My Identity initiative is an illustrative example of Principle 1 in the California English Learner Roadmap, access-oriented and needs-responsive schools. When individuals are taking the pledge to support this initiative, they are committed to these actions: showing respect to others' names and identities by pronouncing students' names correctly, being a role model for students, spreading the word about the importance of respecting others' names and identities, sharing my name story on social media, and being proud of who I am and celebrating our differences. This toolkit includes a variety of activities that support these actions. Our why begins with honoring the diverse cultures and languages in our school community. A student is not going to care how much we know until they know how much we care, said Jennifer Corres, Director of Professional Development at Palm Beach County School Districts. Let's hear the why from a student, Bhargavi Garamela, a high school senior and Director of Management at Redefy, a student-led organization.
Hi, my name is Bhargavi, and as you can see, my name is not ordinary. It's a bit complex, and I used to wish that I had a simpler name, one that was more palatable to people and that sounded more American. And this is partly because in first grade, when my mom would give me Indian food for lunch, I would try to hide it from my friends and throw it away. I didn't want them to see that I didn't have a sandwich or macaroni and cheese. And then in fourth grade, my teacher mispronounced my name for the entire year, despite my best attempts to tell her how to correctly pronounce it. Then in ninth grade, in my English class, every time my teacher called on me or said my name, kids in my class would tease me by whispering my name. In 11th grade, my English teacher would, on the first couple days of school, she told the class a joke about my name, and the whole class bursted into laughter. I've long been aware of the impact of mispronouncing names in the classroom, but I often felt like it was one of those things that would just kind of go unacknowledged, that a lot of us would go through in the world, but no one would really talk about it. Then I found out about the My Name, My Identity initiative, and I originally found out about it by reading a news article on CNN, but I was really surprised to see that this was something that was happening in my community. And so I think the My Name, My Identity initiative fills a crucial hole in the classroom and in students' experiences because this issue goes much deeper than just the mispronunciation of names. It goes as deep as to the question as to how are we treating students' cultural identity in the classroom, not just from teachers, but also from my fellow students. With this question in mind, and as a director of programs at Redefy, I began working with the My Name, My Identity initiative to promote empathy, respect for cultural identity, and the breakdown of stereotypes. We are accomplishing this by publishing articles, conducting social media campaigns that have reached hundreds of people, and through crafting a workshop that will provide classrooms with the foundation for these principles and a platform on which to grow empathy within the classroom. Students from across the country have already contacted me with their stories. A few of them have told me that because of Redefy and the My Name, My Identity initiative's work, they realized that maybe it was time to go back to their ethnic names, and maybe it was time to begin embracing their culture more holistically than they had ever done before. And hearing those stories of those people really impacted me because for the longest time, I wanted to change my name as well. But now I realize that my name is something that empowers me and makes me stand out. It's not something that I should be ashamed of. Growing up, like I said before, I was often ashamed of my name and tried to hide where I came from and the food I ate and the traditions my family had. It is my hope that through my work and through the My Name, My Identity initiative, more and more young people do not feel the same way that I did. And I hope that they feel pride instead of shame, respect instead of disgust, and self-worth instead of guilt. Thank you.
After listening to Bhargavi's powerful testimonial, I would like to make the connection of the My Name, My Identity initiative to several key features of CASEL's transformative SEL. It is evident that Bhargavi applied her understanding of race, identity, and culture to her lived experiences as she articulated her self-transformation. Bhargavi is showing her self-awareness by noting that she was being made fun of because of her name sounded different from others. She is also aware of the social dynamic of how her peers are treating others who are different. Through taking the pledge and the actions associated with the pledge, Bhargavi was inspired and became an agent of change. She came up with authentic and innovative ideas to co-construct solutions and implemented them. This process nurtures a sense of belonging, empowerment, and engagement. At the end, as Bhargavi said, she hopes more young people will feel pride instead of shame, respect instead of disgust, and self-worth instead of guilt. The toolkit is anchored on this inquiry question. How might educators create an inclusive and respectful school community where everyone's name and identity are honored? Next, Jenna Picata will provide an introduction to the toolkit.
I'm now going to introduce the My Name, My Identity Educator Toolkit. This is an image of what our Educator Toolkit looks like. When you get to the toolkit, if you put it in present mode, it could be used like a digital book, or as you see here, there is a link on the cover that encourages the user to make a copy and use the interactive features, such as the digital sticky notes or the teacher reflection areas at the end of the resources section. I had the honor and privilege of working with some amazing educators throughout the Bay Area who are deeply connected and dedicated to the My Name, My Identity campaign. We also were very mindful of the fact that we are still navigating the COVID-19 pandemic and that community building and social and emotional learning were going to be especially important as students return to school, some for the first time in a year and a half. In alignment with the California English Learner Roadmap Principle 1, we made sure that this resource can help educators begin the new school year with an assets-based community building approach. This toolkit was written to build the foundation for students feeling connected, thus motivating them to engage and attend school, and it is meant to uplift student voice through sharing their stories and celebrating diversity. Here's a visual representation of what exclusion, segregation, integration, and inclusion looks like. A sense of belonging starts with feeling included, not just their physical presence, but when students' voices are heard, their identities are being recognized, and they all feel welcomed as a valuable member of the classroom community. In the introduction of the toolkit, you will find this page that references CASEL's social and emotional learning core competencies and framework. This model and a video from CASEL is shared in the introduction because the toolkit aligns with the key features of transformative SEL, as Yi had just mentioned, and it was written to help create an inclusive and respectful school community with a social, emotional, and cultural lens. The activities provide an entry point for valuing diversity and building a culture of respect, and all activities are aligned to at least one SEL core competency. The icons that you see on the bottom right-hand area of the page can be seen throughout the toolkit to help educators make the connection to the SEL competencies. Also in the introduction, there is a page that explains the 4 sections of the toolkit and what can be found in each section. We will be giving a preview of each section, and in this session, you're going to have an opportunity to explore the toolkit on your own. On the right-hand side, you'll find a key of icons that can be found throughout the toolkit. As we were thinking about what we wanted to provide for teachers this year, we were very intentional about creating a resource that could be used with educators from grades pre-K through 12th grade. And we even included resources that site administrators could use with their own staff. And for that reason, you will see these color and shape icons that indicate the recommended grade level. Now that I've shown you the toolkit, you're going to have some time to explore for yourself. And what I've done here is I've created a scavenger hunt for you all to interact with. So there is a link on this page. If you have the slides, you can actually click on this link, or if you have a camera, you can scan the QR code and it will take you to this scavenger hunt page, which you are free to make a copy for yourself. You can go to File and make a copy, or in the directions over here, I have put a link to make a copy for this document. And then also, if you would rather take what you find in this scavenger hunt and put it in a collaborative space, then we've also created this My Name, My Identity scavenger hunt Jamboard. So there is a link to that on this direction page as well. And what you'll be looking for as you navigate the toolkit, you are looking for something that sparks joy, something that inspires you, a book that looks interesting, an activity you can implement, something you're curious about, and a resource that you can explore further. So look for one or as many one of those as you want to. And the collaborative Jamboard looks like this, where you can navigate to any of these pages. And I did put a preview of what each of these tools do. And you can share your ideas on each of these pages. So we're going to give you about 5 minutes to explore now and start putting your thinking onto this Jamboard or in your own notes for yourself. And now that you've finished exploring the toolkit, I want you to reflect on what you just saw. What is one new thing that you can use in your practice inspired by the My Name, My Identity Educator Toolkit? And now we are going to do a little deeper dive into each of the sections and highlight some of the most important pieces. And as you saw, as you were exploring the toolkit, the first section that we have is all about identities and names. In this section, we begin with a launch activity. This video kicks off that launch activity and was created to encourage students and educators to share their name stories.
Hi, my name is Bhargavi, and as you can see, my name is not ordinary. It's a bit complex, and I used to wish that I had a simpler name, one that was more palatable to people and that sounded more American. And this is partly because in first grade, when my mom would give me Indian food for lunch, I would try to hide it from my friends and throw it away. I didn't want them to see that I didn't have a sandwich or macaroni and cheese. And then in fourth grade, my teacher mispronounced my name for the entire year, despite my best attempts to tell her how to correctly pronounce it. Then in ninth grade, in my English class, every time my teacher called on me or said my name, kids in my class would tease me by whispering my name. In 11th grade, my English teacher would, on the first couple days of school, she told the class a joke about my name, and the whole class bursted into laughter. I've long been aware of the impact of mispronouncing names in the classroom, but I often felt like it was one of those things that would just kind of go unacknowledged, that a lot of us would go through in the world, but no one would really talk about it. Then I found out about the My Name, My Identity initiative, and I originally found out about it by reading a news article on CNN, but I was really surprised to see that this was something that was happening in my community. And so I think the My Name, My Identity initiative fills a crucial hole in the classroom and in students' experiences because this issue goes much deeper than just the mispronunciation of names. It goes as deep as to the question as to how are we treating students' cultural identity in the classroom, not just from teachers, but also from my fellow students. With this question in mind, and as a director of programs at Redefy, I began working with the My Name, My Identity initiative to promote empathy, respect for cultural identity, and the breakdown of stereotypes. We are accomplishing this by publishing articles, conducting social media campaigns that have reached hundreds of people, and through crafting a workshop that will provide classrooms with the foundation for these principles and a platform on which to grow empathy within the classroom. Students from across the country have already contacted me with their stories. A few of them have told me that because of Redefy and the My Name, My Identity initiative's work, they realized that maybe it was time to go back to their ethnic names, and maybe it was time to begin embracing their culture more holistically than they had ever done before. And hearing those stories of those people really impacted me because for the longest time, I wanted to change my name as well. But now I realize that my name is something that empowers me and makes me stand out. It's not something that I should be ashamed of. Growing up, like I said before, I was often ashamed of my name and tried to hide where I came from and the food I ate and the traditions my family had. It is my hope that through my work and through the My Name, My Identity initiative, more and more young people do not feel the same way that I did. And I hope that they feel pride instead of shame, respect instead of disgust, and self-worth instead of guilt. Thank you.
Did you see how the students' faces lit up as they were telling their name stories? When students feel recognized and valued, it makes it easier for them to make connections with one another, and it gives teachers a better opportunity to work with students who are eager and happy and ready to engage in the learning. I have to share with you that when I first began my journey as a part of the My Name, My Identity initiative, the only story that I could think of sharing with others about my name was a story of disappointment when a teacher dismissed and mispronounced my name all year long. After becoming a contributor to this project, I've had the privilege of hearing so many incredibly beautiful name stories that I felt compelled to share a more positive story, one that claims my family history and honors my mother and father and the struggles that they went through in order to bring me into this world. Have you ever heard of the term rainbow baby? If you haven't heard that term, a rainbow baby is a baby that was born after a miscarriage. I happen to be a double rainbow baby. Before I was born, I carried two babies almost to full term before miscarrying, and she had named them Jennifer and Jessica because she loved names that started with the just sound. After she struggled to finally have me, she decided that she wanted to find an even more unique and special name, and she picked out Genevieve. The image that you see on this slide is my doodle signature that I created based on my newly reclaimed story that I've come to feel so proud of sharing with others. Maya Angelou says, "When you know better, do better." That is why I believe so deeply in this initiative. We don't want our students to have to carry around with them that story of hurt and disappointment and trauma, especially when it comes to something so basic as a name. Our name is how we get introduced to this world. It really speaks volumes if we don't make an attempt to get that right. This is the first launch activity that you're going to see on slide 7 after that video that we just watched. And the goal of the activity is to open doors for students and educators to learn about each other's names and stories behind them as a way to build relationships. The activity can be adapted from preschool through 12th grade, and it addresses CASEL's self-awareness SEL core competency in identifying personal, cultural, and linguistics assets. Introducing students in activities in the identities and names section will cultivate a learning environment where students' names are correctly pronounced and everyone in school takes pride in learning and sharing his or her name stories. And I invite you here to scan this code. And this code is going to take you, or if you're on this slide, you can click on the QR code and it will take you to a Flipgrid where you're going to be asked to join with Google or Microsoft, and you are invited to share your name story. And if you want to use this activity with your students, you can also click on this hello name tag, and this will get you to the template of this exact same name story activity for you to share with your students in the classroom. So with this, you can add this topic to your Flipgrid account, and then you can just push it out to your students. Now that you've completed that activity, I want to pose this reflection question to you. Why is it important to pronounce students' names correctly and honor their identities? And now I'm going to pass it over to Ma Bernadette to introduce the section on our class community.
Thank you so much, Jenna. Thank you for sharing your story name. It's just so touching and inspiring and very, very powerful messaging too. To again, a name being an honorable way to show respect as well as create that sense of belongingness. And so As shared earlier, this toolkit was written to build the foundation for students feeling connected, developing a sense of belonging, and therefore inspiring and motivating them to attend school and engage in multiple experiences that we provide for our students. As author Palmer would say, community is a place where the connections felt in our hearts make themselves known in the bonds between people, and where the tuggings and pullings of those bonds keep opening our hearts. So this section includes activity ideas and video resources that help students and educators and families as well to understand what a culture of inclusiveness and respect looks like in our class community. When students and educators engage in such activities to co-create a sense of belonging and respect, they are building a strong and respectful relationships that value diversity. So let's watch this short video. And as you watch, I invite you to make some notes of ways that we can build, promote, as well as sustain a community where belonging is cultivated.
Who I am. I am a student, a young Black girl, standing for what she believes. In my school communities, I always wanted to belong. In elementary, I changed schools so often, it was hard to adapt. I always felt so out of place. Many others are like me, who just want a place to feel that connection.
I feel like I belong and matter in the school when I walk in the building and I get greeted by the principal, the staff, teachers, the security guards, like just everybody in the school know my name.
I feel like I'm really bonded to my teacher when they can tell us stories about their life and what they've been through. Like what it was like in their childhood, or if they ever got bullied in school.
I feel like I belong in my community and school when I am listened to.
When they welcome me and don't exclude me from activities.
When I am safe, seen, accepted. I learn when I'm empowered.
I feel like I can really belong and matter in school when I can disco.
My identity was formed in my many life experiences, such as goals I've achieved, failures that taught me right from wrong, or days where I had no choice but to fight and move forward. We young people build our identities in many different ways.
I can tell that others know and appreciate who I am when students can share their work and passions in a judge-free environment among peers.
My biggest passion is music and dancing, and I just love how the school lets everybody express themselves through their art.
I can tell that other people know and appreciate who I really am when I hang out with friends and when I do the newspaper job and say hello and I have a conversation.
There has to be a strong communication system, reaching out to all families whose language is not English as their first language, people who are illiterate in technology, as well as families who have a lack of resources.
I can tell I'm respected when I don't feel like I need to do extra in a class to feel like I belong or be properly supported with my academics.
I think it's very important to accommodate and acknowledge people whose minds think and process things differently in learning. Just make sure that everyone feels seen in your classroom, in your learning environment, and you'll see people flourish.
Agency is the feeling and confidence of knowing you can achieve a goal if you apply yourself. I know I can do it when my mentors speak to me, when my peers acknowledge me, and when I decide to keep trying and not give up. When teachers give me leadership responsibilities, I feel like it's my responsibility to take care of myself and others. When my community believes in me, I feel free to achieve my goals and dreams.
I have the confidence and power to make something I care about happen when I'm happy, when I have a lot of energy, when I have support from people who love me, and when I'm present.
When I am able to give my input in clubs and activities and develop real outcomes for my school.
When I know my voice matters to someone. It wasn't until I learned who I really was that I had no choice but to elevate my voice, and there were people there ready to listen.
I feel powerful and confident to make something I care about happen when I have people alongside me that want to fight for the change that I want to see.
When I remind myself that it's really important to focus on my own opinion and care about my own well-being.
I also have that confidence and power when I know what I'm doing will help other people or the planet.
To all of our adults in schools and communities who are creating spaces for us to live and learn, you are not in this alone. We are ready to be a part of shaping our own lives, building that mutual respect, creating a learning place where we can flourish, so we can achieve much greater goals. Knowing we can do what we set our minds to. We are in this together.
So thank you so much. Such a strong message from our students. With that, how are you building and sustaining a community of learners where our students see, hear, and feel that they belong, that they are in a safe and empowered environment to thrive and celebrate their diversity? So I'd like to, again, highlight some of the featured activities in our toolkit. So cultivating a respectful and inclusive community begins with building a strong relationship. And we do know that where members of our community share common values built on safety, right? Trust and belonging. And these values undergird students' behavior throughout the school year. In the toolkit, class agreement, co-created by our teachers as well as our students, are so necessary to form that foundation of trust. Being mindful and responsive, as well as the discipline that fosters kindness and fairness, as well as acceptance. The toolkit provides activities that build on these through dialogues and discussions. And some guiding examples, such as on the slide deck, are truly very helpful for us to then create that respectful and communicative as well as responsive community of learners. And as you can see in this slide, this featured activity has all of the 5 social and emotional learning competencies that are highlighted in the top right of this slide deck, because this activity again develops self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, our social awareness, as well as relationship skills. In the PK or pre-K, stop, Bernadette, okay. In the pre-K2 activities, the following routines foster a community where self-care and a sense of belonging are at the forefront, while affirming one's identity through name. So here are just some of the examples, like greeting each student as they enter in our virtual or physical room every day is an affirming action, right? To welcome them, to show that they are there, present, and not just check their attendance. And this is such a very welcoming activity to truly affirm their whole selves. Activities to have students see themselves in the classroom, such as highlighting family photos on display, showcasing their artwork, their classwork, class collage, are all examples to, again, validate the essence of self in that community. Connecting with students by knowing their names, not just names, but the stories behind their names, such as the one shared by Jenna. And I know Yi, you also have a beautiful story of your name, and I do too. So those are ways that, again, just truly create a deeper bond of respect and trust. And this happens not just during class, but also outside of the classroom. When kids are in break, when kids are playing in the playground, during passing time, lunchtime. So all of these also is strengthened by establishing expectations. Let students understand that saying their classmates' names correctly is being respectful and kind. And it's also okay to correct others if they didn't say their names correctly. In the toolkit itself, featured books such as the ones on the slides are also included. We have a link in our slide deck and a Google document as well that outlines many different books that, again, not just build a community of learners, but also that sense of belonging through names, narratives, as well as the stories. I'm just going to give you one example. So here is the Google document that provide us a list of books that we can use in the classroom. One such example is the book Big for PK5. And this book goes beyond the basics to show how size is more than a matter of height. This story actually touches on the ideas such as health, citizenship, imagination, and all those beautiful and valuable values that we would like to inculcate and develop among our students. And there are more as we go towards the bottom of this list. We also have some for middle school as well as high school. And we were so intentional in the selection of these books because these are books that, again, impact in the way we acknowledge and validate the identities of our students. And so in the chat, dear friends, or in your journal, I invite you to reflect on these prompts. What does an inclusive and respectful class community look, feel, or sound like? And what are the characteristics of an inclusive and respectful class community? And again, we invite you to share your comments, your ideas, your reflections about these two prompts. The final section of the toolkit is the take action section. We are intentional in encouraging our toolkit users to apply what they have learned through the different sections and take action to make a lasting positive impact in the lives of our students and their families as well. So after students learn about identities and the importance of names in our classroom community, this section gets students to think about actionable steps that they can take to innovate change, to think of change, to advocate for change, and come up with some ways, approaches, solutions to creating and maintaining an inclusive and respectful community. For PK to second grade, this section begins with question prompts and a video of the big umbrella. And this story is just an amazing umbrella that always has room to cover, shade, and shelter anyone in the community. And for younger students, we thought that such an entry point to come up with, again, innovative thinking of ways, approaches, and solutions would be to include questions around kindness and friendship. For students in grades 3 through 12, our vision is to have students come up with, again, that creative solutions, right? That innovative thinking to helping others feel safe and welcome in their classroom, their school, or in the community as a whole. And we invite educators to approach this challenge in any way that they wish. Students may come up with solutions individually, in pairs, in groups, or maybe the class will decide to come work together to provide one solution maybe that will be put in action as a community of learners. One resource that we have included here on the right side of this slide deck is the design dash template. And this has been so useful for all of us to think through about how we can also digitally give it to students or in paper and pencil. And we are just so thankful for the original version contributed by Molly Wilson of the School of Design Thinking. And when you open, it will find that it has some modifications so that it fits to our students' design challenge. What we truly love about design thinking is the process that includes students conducting empathy interviews, where they have the opportunity to listen to real stories about those times when their friends, their peers may not have felt welcome and included in various situations at school, communities, and other places. And based on those interviews, the students then frame a human-centered problem to be addressed, draw and prototype an idea, and lastly, they test the prototype and encourage to iterate before putting their final ideas or solutions into action. Once the students have put their plans into actions, we encourage educators and students to document the process and digitally capture the results in the way of their choosing. And again, it could be digital or in paper and pencil, but the idea is to capture their work. The idea is to use multimedia as well as multimodal ways of showcasing their work. And such tools in this example are Flipgrid, CISO, as well as Screencastify, or probably even Loom. If you have students create written artifacts, I would encourage students also to include visuals, pictures, realia of their work, and it can be captured as well, a digital document, and even a slide presentation, or even the form of a blog post or web page, such as a Google site page. And again, there are multiple ways of showcasing their work. And by the end of the Take Action section, you will find a rubric along with instructions for submitting student work. My Name, My Identity is a global campaign, and we want to give your students authentic audience so that their voices, their stories, their narratives can be heard well beyond their own school campus. Their ways of thinking, their approaches, their ideas, their solutions that your students come up with have the potential of sparking new ideas and innovation as well, giving hope, inspiration, and joy from other students in other states and other countries around the world. It is our mission to uplift student voices by sharing their ideas on the My Name, My Identity webpage and the Santa Clara County Office of Education Bilingual Multilingual Learner Advocacy Month Showcase.
Thank you, Ma Bernadette, for sharing such a wonderful opportunity that we can uplift student voice and really share their authentic ideas with the rest of the world in supporting this important initiative. So this section of the toolkit, it's about the resources where educators can find resources to further explore the concepts covered throughout the toolkit. The section begins with a note about the importance of self-reflection, and it includes prompts that invite educators to think about how they might continue to expand their equity and cultural competency practices. It also includes a glossary of terms, lists of citations, links to an online course that include more free, ready-to-use lessons in the classroom. There is also a link to an impact survey because we would love to hear your input about what additional resources that you would need to support you in this journey. Finally, we invite you to take the pledge for supporting the My Name, My Identity initiative if you have not already done so. You can access more resources by visiting the My Name, My Identity website. The hyperlink is on the slide. You can also follow us on social media. It is time for all of us to take action. If you have any questions about the toolkit or this initiative, please feel free to reach out to any one of us. Thank you. 谢谢.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, and maraming salamat.